When you step into the West End, when you go and visit theatres, the first thing you see is the marquee. If you don't know what a marquee is, it is the front of house. It's the design. It's the posters that tell you what show is currently playing in that theatre. These will often be a big poster board. They're often lit up in bright colours. Sometimes shows will add flashy extra details. And it is the first impression you get of that theatre. You want photos with it. You want to see it lit up. You want a big flashy advertisement. This is a show that is playing here. This is a show. You have found the theatre you need to come and be in. But with all of these theatres becoming so iconic for their fantastic marquees, it does beg the question, which is the best and which is the weakest? Today, I have gathered photos of all 39 West End theatres, and we are going to rank the current show's marquees. 1 through 39. This is going to be every theatre that is counted as an official West End theatre. So if it's on the Wikipedia page as part of the 39, it counts. We have a lot of theatres to get into, so let's get started. But if you haven't seen my face before, hi, I'm Ellie. I talk about theatre. I am the most chaotic theatre person on the internet. I do reviews, I do discussions, I do versus brackets, tier lists and rankings. And if any of that sounds interesting to you, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It really helps me, it helps out the channel. But let's dive in to this ranking. Now, I'm going to have to speed through these quite a bit, because essentially I have 39 theatres to talk about, and if I spend 5 minutes on every single one, that's a very long video already. I want to give each theatre its time and its moments, so we're going to try and be effective with the time spent. A couple of quick housekeeping rules. I'm going to be ranking both the actual architecture of the theatre, so the building itself, plus the actual advertisement on it, the creativity of that. Can you get good photos with the building, or is it really awkward to find a good place? Can you get in the photo? Is there a good spot with the theatre that you can stand with it and get a good photo with it? Are there photo ops outside? And the most important thing, does it look quite pretty? I am ranking the current tenant of each theatre, but there are 3 exceptions. 2 theatres where the current tenant I don't really wish to platform or speak about on the channel, and 1 theatre where there isn't really a long-running show in there right now. So for those 3 theatres, I'm going to go back and go to the previous tenant of those theatres. I also just want to give a really quick thank you to everyone who sent in photos. I was literally putting things on Instagram every 5 seconds, being like, please can I have a picture of this theatre, or this theatre, or this theatre. The amount of pictures that you will see in this video is thanks to the fact that people were so kind to send me their photos and allow me to use them in this video. So thank you so much for that. It's so extremely helpful and is going to make this video even better. I'm going to try my best to thank everyone in the description. If you don't see your name there and you sent in photos, leave a comment, I'll add you in. I have all my photos on here on my lovely tier maker. Some of them are sideways. Ignore that. But we're going to go through these theatres in alphabetical order, starting with the Adelphi, which, I mean, there's nothing to rank it against at the moment, so it's going to come in and it's going to immediately be number 1. And it's also the last one as well. So, I mean, the thing about the Adelphi, currently home to Back to the Future, this is a show we're going to be speaking about, is they don't really have much space to play with. The actual architecture of the outside of the building is fairly bare bones and not getting it many extra points. I do quite like the window that is there. I feel like it's quite awkwardly placed, though. I do like what they do with this space, however. They're very limited, but they use it very well. We've got 3 posters towards the side. We've got the grate that comes down, which gets bonus points because every time a show goes into the Adelphi, they spray paint the grate, so it's themed to each show that goes in. At the moment, it's currently the front of the DeLorean, and it looks absolutely stunning. However, you have to go to the theatre at a time where the theatre is closed to actually be able to see it and get a proper photo of it. So I don't know how many points we can give that, but it is a nice added little element to it. I love the poster board up the top. I will say for Back to the Future, however, the side panel where you get the logo of the current show is really, really messy. I don't think the Back to the Future logo translates very well when you're having to flip it in a really awkward way to make it fit across that line. And also, a lot of the details of this theatre are kind of pressed up against the wall. So there's no really good point where you can stand and get a photo with the Adelphi. You have to kind of go across the street to get a good out of you, and there's no really good place unless you go to like the middle of the street to get a photo with the theatre. For these reasons, I don't think the Adelphi is going to get amazingly high, but I think it's very creative with what it does, and it does use that space very well. I think the Adelphi is actually much better inside, where they theme the actual foyer a lot more, but the outside is kind of lacking a little bit more. Next up, Tina at the Aldwych Theatre. Now, I think this is a fairly decent theatre. I think this is a good one. I like it. I think the colour, I think the yellow and the black really gives it a nice little pop. It's a great choice of colours, and they use it very well on that front of house. I love the poster boards on each side. I think there's not amazing places to get photos. Of course, if you want a good photo, you kind of have to go to the opposite side of the street, and that street is very busy. If a bus comes along, good luck. But I feel like there are better places to get photos than something like the Adelphi. I really like the logo that's printed on there. I think the architecture of this building is incredible. It looks gorgeous. I do think it comes just above the Adelphi in this aspect, but I would like to see a couple of little added details. I think maybe some of the windows at the top could have some Tina logos if we're pushing it and nitpicking a little bit more, but I think it's a very good marquee and looks very beautiful, if I do say so indeed. Next up, ambassadors. Now, normally the ambassadors would be a serviceable marquee. I quite like the big poster board. I think it's placed in a really great way. I think this is a theatre that's really easy to get photos with because of its location. You can get a great photo across the street. As you can see right here, I'm putting up a photo of Benjamin Button right now. You can get great photos there. There's enough space to get a photo with the theatre if you want to. But right now, the theatre is home to Benjamin Button, which has added extra touches to the marquee that brings it up, definitely. First of all, the actual poster and the hourglass on the poster is reflective. So it's got an extra little shine to it, which gives it an extra added element. It pops up above the poster, adding an extra bit of depth. I love the lighting right now, the blues all across. It's stunning. It looks gorgeous. I really like the architecture of this building, the stern, striking white of it. I don't think it's the strongest when it comes to architecture, but it is very, very beautiful. I think there's great posters. There's extra posters across the side where you can get additional photos with, which is great. We love that. I think this currently takes the top spot, which is nice because these theatres are slowly getting better and better and better. I think this is very much helped with the current tenant, though. I think it would be a little bit lower and would be lower in the final ranking when Benjamin Button eventually does leave the West End. Not that I'm wishing Benjamin Button away, because that show is beautiful and I can't wait to see it in the West End in like 2 weeks. I can't wait. I wish I could see it sooner. Okay, next up, Wicked. Now, I've got to say, Apollo Victoria, stunning. 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 The giant glitter board of Wicked is incredible. I think it's great to get photos of. I don't know if it's the best to get photos with, though, just because of the placement of the building, but there's definitely places upon that theatre where you can get photos with. But I think this theatre does get bonus points for how it looks at night. The building lit up when it's all across with the greens. Oh my god, it is stunning. The only thing I don't really love is the additional Wicked poster that sits just below the giant glitter board. I feel like because we've already got that above it, I wish that space was used for a slightly different poster or something a little bit different, maybe a Welcome to Oz type thing or like just something else, because I feel like we've already got like the Wicked poster covered with the above marquee bit, and I don't think we need it repeated literally on the same bit of building, but that is very tiny nitpick because I'm going to have to use tiny nitpicks. I feel like this comes right now just underneath Benjamin Button. I feel like these two are neck and neck, but right now the little touches that have improved Benjamin Button brings it just above. Next up, Apollo. Now, Apollo, it's sad, it's unfortunate, there hasn't been a tenant at the Apollo in about 7 months. Yeah, there's no show in there right now. Shh, don't fact check me on that. So we're going to go to the last tenant of that theatre, which was Mind Mangler. Now, I think the Apollo gets its biggest pluses from the actual architecture of the building. I think that this theatre, when it comes to the actual marquee, is fine. It doesn't have a lot of space to play with. It's an awkward one to get photos with, especially because of Shaftesbury Avenue being very, stuck. You've got, 4 theatres next to each other, kind of squashed together. And this is great. We love that. But also it means that there's not really an opportune spot to get good photos, as that space is always so busy and packed. But it does look very, very nice. But the statues on the building, the actual, architecture of it is the thing that gives it the most plus points. But the actual marquee side of it, I'm not as sold. The question is, would it go above or below Back to the Future? Because I think Back to the Future, the actual building is less good, but the marquee side of it is great. But Apollo is the opposite, where the marquee isn't strong, but the actual architecture of the building gives it bonus points. I mean, it's not bad, it's just serviceable, you know? My Mangala just goes above, but literally these are they're touching each other, and I could switch my mind. I could change my mind. I may change my mind later as well. You can see I'm changing my mind constantly. I feel like these ones are quite neck and neck, because they both had their plus and they both had their minus for me. Next up is the art. Now, the arts is about to go under renovation, and the fact of the matter is, it really needs it, both inside and out. I think the arts is sadly one of the weakest marquees, just because it just needs a little bit of love, especially with the architecture of the building and the actual placements of a lot of the elements for the marquee. They're quite limited on space, fair enough, we'll give them that, and I think they do use what they can. I think the giant poster board above, the long oblong one that stretches across, looks quite nice. I like the little glitter board and the Choir of Man logo on there. I think it looks great, I think it looks pretty, but everything below that, we have the window, which is really closed off. There's the grate outside and the fence that kind of closes off, and you don't really get a good view into the actual foyer of the building. There's a rain cover as well that kind of blocks off a lot of the theatre, making it look even smaller than it actually is. I think the building has a lot of wear and tear. You can see bits where the paint is chipping off. I like the red windows against the brick above, but when you're comparing it to these buildings with literal statues upon them, stunning architecture, it leaves a lot of room to be desired. This is a theatre that has slowly been included into the West End count. It used to be considered off West End, and you can kind of tell how it's a little bit less grandiose than the others. I do think this is the weakest, but I will say there are nice elements, and you can get good photos with, both towards the side of the theatre because of the board that pops out. You can get a good photo on the street with the Choir of Man logo, and you can also go across the street, and it's not that far and it's not that distant, and there's a good opportunities to get photos with that theatre. But I do think it is the weakest so far. Next up, Matilda. Matilda is a great one. Number one, it's in this little square where if you go to the center of the square, you can get amazing photos of Matilda. You can do the Matilda pose with Matilda in the background, which is exactly what you want to see. It looks great. I love the poster board. It's probably one of the biggest poster boards in the West End, I'm assuming. It's giant. But I love the added detail of the Matilda logo popping out. It's an actual additional element that's put on top of the poster that adds a little bit of depth. I love a depth on a bit of theatre. There's a lot of great architecture with this one. Again, like Adelphi, it has the side panel bit where the logo is kind of flipped around and done horizontally, which I don't think looks amazing for Matilda, but I think it looks better for Matilda than it does for Back to the Future. I like it a lot. I think it goes in just under Wicked, just under the Apollo Victoria, but just above Tina. I think the reason I'm going to put it here for now is the fact that you don't really have as much on there. You have the logo, you have the two posters, but Matilda feels a lot more definite on the marquee of the Cambridge than Tina does on the marquee of the Aldwych. And I think it's easier to get a photo with Matilda than it is to get a photo with the Aldwych as well. So we'll go with that. Current third place. This is quite nice. So the current ranking, we've got the Ambassador's top, Apollo Victoria, Cambridge, Aldwych, Apollo, Adelphi, Arts. Next up, Criterion. Now, I was waiting so long for the shoe to go on top of the Dominion Theatre that in the time that I had asked for photos of these buildings, the show that I got photos of for the Criterion has closed. Criterion is one of the prettiest marquees. It's simple. There's not actually much to it, but I adore it so much. The green on top, like the actual Criterion logo bit, looks gorgeous. I love the little statue on it. I love the lights. I love the lit up Criterion logo as well that hangs underneath. I love the rounded photo board above. There's been a lot of shows that have done a couple more creative things with that. For instance, Pride and Prejudice sort of, which turned that into a cake, or Unbelievable, which turned that into an optical illusion, which was stunning. And I feel like those would have gained it a little bit more points, but even having the basic one is very, very well appreciated. I think if we're talking about I Wish You Well, I think it looks great with the spots of pink on it. It doesn't have as much space to play with, but it uses it very well. And this is in a great place in the middle of Piccadilly Circus where you can get decent photos with this theatre. There's enough street room in front of it and go and get photos with the theatre in the background. I did it for Two Strangers Karaoke Across New York. So if I can do it, you can too. This is a strong theatre. The thing is, I don't think it would rank as highly than some others because of the fact that I think there could be a couple more elements on there, but it is stunningly beautiful. I think it's definitely better than Arts, Adelphi, and Apollo. The question is it better than Aldwych? That's what I have to think. And I would say I do think the current shows are better than the Aldwych. To be fair, if we were ranking it just on the current show, which is a maze, I would maybe put it lower just because I don't really love that poster. It looks a little bit AI generated. But because I Wish You Well is there, and I'm going to include that as well, I think I can place it higher than Tina. It has some beautiful architecture. It's got amazing little touches. I think it's a beautiful little theatre and looks great in the West End. Next up, Dominion. Now, this video is so delayed. This video was meant to come out like a month ago, and I have been waiting for them to finish the renovations of the front of house at the Dominion because I heard that they were going to be putting a shoe on top of that theatre like they used to have with the Freddie Mercury statue. The thing is, the Dominion used to have the best marquee in the West End, and I'm not lying. It used to be the best marquee because you had the poster board behind, and especially when We Will Rock You was in there, you had the Freddie Mercury statue and it was giant. It looked amazing. My God. And then it kind of went to this LED screen that wasn't amazing, but did make for good photos, I guess. And now they've gone back a little bit half and half with what they used to have and what they had after the pandemic. And when shows like Prince of Egypt was in there, with an LED screen that stretches along the front of the theatre and enough space on top for a statue of a shoe. And I must say, it does look very good. I like the flexibility that this gives them as well, because they're able to put the logo of the show up, but they can also change it out. If they ever have like concerts there that they have in the past, they can switch out the actual show logo and give you an exclusive one night only screen on there. They had it for like Sister Act when they had media nights and gala nights. They had special marketing up on those screens, which I think is the nice thing about screens. The sad thing about screens though is that sometimes they don't translate amazingly well on photos. But I will say the Dominion does have a lot of street space in front to get good photos with it. The shoe is obviously an amazing touch. Fantastic. Brilliant. If you add a shoe to a marquee, it's immediately great. Think of Priscilla. Think of Into the Woods on Broadway. And also, if you guys ever want me to do Broadway marquees as well, I'll do it too. I'll do it too. The only thing about the shoe right now, and I'm going to be a little bit lenient with it because I hope that they do fix it, is the fact that the shoe is not lit. Fun fact, they have now lit up the shoe at Devil Wears Prada, so this is now a non-factor. Thank you. it does look great. I love the additional extra detail on it as well. That underneath the shoe, it says established 2024, the opening year of Devil Wears Prada in the West End. I love that. That's such a cute little detail. And if this show does become a long runner, that's a lovely little detail to have on that marquee. Like, that's when the show opened. That's the year the show opened. Yeah, I do think now with the renovations, it does beat Benjamin Button. I do think right now it takes the top spot and is the strongest marquee in the West End out of the ones we've ranked so far. We need to keep this going. We need to keep it speedrunning. This is a really long video already. Oh my God. Duchess. It's cute. It's fine. I think the most points that I can give the Duchess right now is the playful way that the marquee is done up for play that goes wrong. The logo being backwards, things being misspelt. I love the placements of some of the things on the building. Like, they have like events that covers up the face of some of the cast as well. I love those little details. I think the marquee does look really nice. It's stretched along quite a long wall. There's not amazing spots to get photos of it though. If you go across the street, that street is so busy sometimes. I couldn't really get amazing photos of it. I guess you could stand on to the side of the theatre and get good photos because of the board that pops out. So there are places, and there's obviously the poster boards on the side, which are quite big and feature a lot of artwork that are pretty good for photos. I would say it's pretty good. I'd rank it just above Criterion. Now, the other theatre that had a show close while I was waiting for Dominion to finish its marquee was the Duke of York. Now, the current tenant is Barcelona, and the previous tenant was Shifters. Again, just like Criterion, I will speak about both. The purple for Shifters on the Duke of York looks stunning, and the blue as well for Barcelona looks great. I love the poster board they've got that kind of sticks out on two sides, giving an extra little pop to the marquee and making it so that if you take photos from the side, you do get a nice glimpse of the show that's in there right now. I think it's a nice theatre. I think it looks very pretty. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites, but I definitely think it's like the middle, but a strong middle. I think it has a lot going for it, but I don't think it needs to be overly flashy in a lot of ways because most of the time, this is a playhouse, and a playhouse is a little bit different to a musical house. Like, you want the commercial musicals to have good things. You want the commercial musicals to have a shoe on top of the marquee, you know. But when you've got plays like Barcelona or Shifters going into this theatre, you don't really need all of that. I feel like it serves exactly what it needs to do. It's serving exactly what you are. Yeah, I think it goes just under Aldwych. Just under Aldwych. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. And honestly, I feel like on a different day, I could maybe rank it a little bit higher, but yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. The Fortune, Operation Mincemeat. The Fortune used to have very little. When they had Women in Black in there for 34 years, they didn't really need much on there. Again, it used to be for a play. It used to be a playhouse, so it didn't really need a flashy marquee. But now they've got Operation Mincemeat at the Fortune. They wanted a little bit more, and slowly they built onto it. They've improved the facade, and now I think Operation Mincemeat is very nice upon there. I like the placement of the extra day cows on there. I mean, I know what that poster is alluding to as well, and it does make me a little bit uncomfortable. I much prefer the poster that's just the briefcase for Operation Mincemeat. I do get it. I don't know. It just makes me a little uncomfy. But that aside, though, I think the posters on the side look great. Great places to get photos. If you cross the street as well and go underneath the shelter bit of the Theatre Royal Drury Lane, you can get great photos across the street of Operation Mincemeat. I think the glow from it, the yellow glow, looks great in the dark. It looks very nice. It looks very nice. I think it's a strong one. But I think now with the extra added elements, I would put it just above Aldwych. I think the only thing that's going to stop me from putting it above Criterion is just the fact I think the architecture of the Criterion is just a tiny little bit stronger. Garrick, Why Am I So Single? Which looks fantastic. When I asked you guys to send me photos, the most photos I got for any single West End theatre was the Garrick and Why Am I So Single. It may have been because it had just opened, so a lot of people have already been recently, and I asked for the most up-to-date photos I could get. But I think that's also a testament to just how damn good it looks. Now, the Garrick has a lot of space. The Garrick has a lot of space across that theatre to play with, and they play with it. Of course, there's the main bit. There's the big poster board with a lit up, glowing pink logo, sparkly, stunning. That looks incredible. There's a great space to get a photo with the marquee for the Garrick as well. If you cross the street, there's a little island in the middle where you can get great photos with the Garrick. And especially when it's a little bit dark and it's glowing, oh, it looks so good. I need to go and get a photo with it at some point because it does look amazing. It does look so good. I love the little posters I have along the side. Instead of having traditional like production photos along the poster boards next to the doors at the Garrick, they have little Tinder bios and like dating profiles for all of their ensemble, which is a great touch and a really appreciated touch. And the thing that is just the cherry on the cake is the fact that the actual Garrick logo that is located towards the side of the facade has pink lettering on the ick. So it's now the Ga-ick, like a dating ick. Genius. It's so good. It's so good. I think right now the Garrick, it's a question. I don't think it's as strong as a shoe. I don't think it's as strong as a shoe. Do I think it's stronger than Benjamin Button? Yes. I do think right now with the current tenant, it is stronger than Benjamin Button and ranks just above. It's currently second place on this ranking. Next up, Gielgud. Gielgud looks very nice. I think the screen they've added just above the door allows for a lot of flexibility, which is really fun. I like the two poster boards on each side. This is one of the theatres on Shaftesbury Avenue that is a little bit easier to photograph, actually. You can go across the street and it is sometimes busy, but you can also stand just towards the side of it to get a nice photo with it, which I did for shows like Old Friends, which I can show you an example of now. I think it is probably the easiest one on Shaftesbury Avenue to get a photo with, which is bonus points. I think right now Duel on the Peacock looks nice on there. I like the bits along the top where you have like the stretched out poster. It looks nice. And I think the extra added touch that gives it some bonus points is the architecture as well. It looks great. It's fairly photogenic. It looks nice. I have a real soft spot for it, honestly. I have a real soft spot. I feel like it kind of matches what I feel about like the Criterion and the Duchess. I feel like I'm going to put it just above the Duchess, just below Cambridge as well. Next up, the Gillian Lynn. Because we're at a point where it's got a short show before Totoro goes in, the marquee is less desirable. This is one of the most unique theatres in the West End for its marquee, and will use the giant windows along the span of the theatre to put posters in. I'll show examples of some previous tenants to show you what I mean by this. Standing at the Sky's Edge looked stunning across there. Cinderella looked great across there. School of Rock looked amazing across there. But when they have a shorter show, they only use 3 lines of the windows to cover up, which is fair enough, but I think it does show off a little bit too much. I don't think the theatre looks as good when you're walking past and you're only seeing like the windows of the offices above. Like I don't think it looks as pretty as it can do. And sadly right now with Layman's Trilogy in there, that's what we've got, and that's what I'm having to rank. This is one that would rank a lot higher, especially if I come back to this once Totoro has come into the West End. But sadly, I think this one, just because of what it looks like right now, it does lose it some points. It is easy to get photos with, and there's great places across the marquee to stand by to get a nice photo with, but if I'm being nice, I would put it above Aldwych, and like that is going very low because when it does look great, I would put it at like above Wicked, but it's one that is just slightly weaker now. I'm gonna put it just above Aldwych, yeah. I feel like right now that's where I would put it. But I do want to say, just as like a general thing, when I'm kind of doing these, a lot of these are like very on par with each other. It's quite tough to rank these and like definitively rank these because my ranking of these could change at any point. Especially with shows coming in and like sometimes extra details are added. So like a lot of these like middle ones are like neck and neck with each other. All right, next up, another playhouse with the Harold Pinter, the Harry Pints, previously known as the Comedy Theatre, but now named after esteemed playwright Harold Pinter, and currently home to David Tennant and Cush Jumbo in Macbeth. And I've got to say, this is another theatre where the architecture, bonus points. Oh, it looks so nice. The little statues on there, the gold statues, stunning. They've got a lot of space to play with on this theatre. And the thing is, they don't really. Again, this is a theatre that gets a lot of plays in it. Like, Your Lie in April going to this theatre was really strange, honestly, because we're so used to seeing plays in this theatre. Like, before Your Lie in April, the last musical that I can think of being at the Harold Pinter was Sunny Afternoon. With Macbeth, I think what they do is quite nice. I like the posters along the side. I think the green looks really great on there. I think the poster board is great. But yeah, it does leave a little bit more to be desired, I feel. I would put it just... I feel very similar to it than I do about the Apollo right now, where there's nice things about it, but yeah, it's ultimately not the strongest. Would I put it above Apollo? Which statues do I like more is the question. So I will put Apollo just above and the Harold Pinter just below. Next up, His Majesty's. Architecture is the first one we need to speak about because the architecture on this building is stunning. It's a gorgeous theatre. Oh my god, it just looks amazing with the pillars and everything. Oh my god. The only thing about this, being the tenant of Phantom for so long, is that you do expect that Phantom would take up a little bit more space. If you look at it, Phantom only takes up, like, the posters and, like, thin little strips along the side. Visually, it is very similar to something like the Duke of York, which has those pillars, or the Lyceum that has those pillars. But a lot of those theatres have extra little places to put logos and everything. In an ideal world, a Phantom of the Opera theatre would have a giant decal of the mask on the side of it. A little bit like Operation Mincemeat has. It would be covering up a lot of that beautiful architecture, which is the kind of like push and pull that I'm having. But when we're speaking about marquees, because I think the thing we have to remember is that the thing that I'm speaking about the most is the decal, is how they're advertising the show. I'm including the actual building as well because I think it does gain it points if it does look a bit pretty. But the thing that I'm most speaking about is the posters, and Phantom really doesn't actually have very much going for it. Architecture-wise, I think it ranks very similarly to like Apollo and Harold Pinter. I do think it is the strongest out of those. Would I put it above something like Shifters and Barcelona at Duke of York? Yeah, I personally would. I think it is quite easy to get photos with Phantom, but then again, I mean, there's not really a giant poster board with Phantom that you want a photo with, so it is just better to go inside and get photos with things inside the theatre, or even, you know, a poster outside or like a production photo that they have. I feel like it's nice. It's great. It is fantastic. But when we're speaking about marquee, it does leave a little bit to be desired. I don't know if that's controversial. It might be. Speaking of theatres that look absolutely gorgeous but don't have much going for it with terms of marquee, the London Palladium. Now, this is a theatre that currently doesn't have a tenant. They're in the season where they're having a lot of concerts. They're waiting to the next long-running show, which is their yearly pantomime, this year being Robin Hood. So we're going to look at the previous show in this theatre, which was Hello, Dolly. Now, the thing about the Palladium is that it is all screens. There is a long screen along the top, there's screens along the sides, and if you go round the corner to where the stage door is, you have the giant screen and the wall of photos of famous people who are performed at the London Palladium. That wall is what is probably giving it the most points. Like, that looks gorgeous. That side of the theatre looks absolutely stunning. But the sad thing is, how much are we going to count that if it's not the main entrance to the theatre? And also, very rarely is advertising the current tenant in that theatre. I don't know how much leniency I can give to it, but I will award it bonus points for it. What I will say is the architecture of the Palladium is a 5 out of 5, a 10 out of 10, a 20 out of 20. The pillars, the bit underneath the pillars, oh my god, the lights and everything, it looks stunningly gorgeous. I think it is one of the best theatres in terms of architecture. And I think it does look nice. It's good for photos. You can get a photo with it, but I think it's not the strongest. I think a lot of the architecture is going to boost it above, honestly. And I do think there is a lot to it. And of course, I am going to count a little bit towards the side of the theatre and the stage door area, which I feel like gets it to be just above Gillian Lynn. The architecture pulling heavy points here for that theatre. Speaking of theatres that don't have much space to play with, the Lyceum. Now, the Lyceum is a theatre that when I came into this ranking, I was like, this is going to rank really lowly because there's not really a great poster. They kind of have to rely on banners and things, but when you actually look at the Lyceum, the full stretch of the theatre actually has a lot of really great photo opportunities, and they use the space that they can use very well. I think the architecture, first of all, is stunning, and probably the reason that they can't really add more decal to it. But you have a nice long Lion King logo, you have the banners, there's posters all along the side that you can get photos with, and you are constantly seeing families go and get photos with them. I think the pops of yellow look really great along that theatre. I think it does, for the most part, actually use the space quite well, even if I did want a little bit more from it. I do want to see something a bit more flashy, but I'm very aware of the fact that they can't really do that, just with the space allotted. They can't put a giant lion on top of this. There's no space for it, you know? The Dominion can have a shoe, but the Lion King can't have a lion or something. I don't know. I feel like for this, I'd rank it very similarly to Palladium. Above Gillian Lynn, yes, definitely. Above Palladium, I think the architecture of Palladium is better, but I think the use of posters and like the actual marquee side of it is stronger at the Lyceum. Honestly, I may even put it above Fortune as well. Screw it, yeah, I would put it above Fortune as well. I feel like it's a theatre that I want more out of, but still the things that they do are severely appreciated. It's not the strongest, but they do what they can, and I do appreciate that. Lyric is very similar to Apollo, but has a little bit more space to play with. The thing is, if it was any other show currently at the Lyric, it would probably rank in basically the same place as the Apollo. But Hadestown, all they needed to do was have the actual flower overlap slightly above of the poster board. That just adds so much. I don't know why, but it does add so much. There's a lot of posters running along the side. Great production photography on there. This is a theatre that is sometimes very awkward to get photos of. There's a lamppost like right in the way, so you can't really get a nice photo on the side. You can go across the street, but it's very similar situation to Apollo, where you can't really get a great photo with the theatre, but there are poster boards and there's things inside that you can get photos with instead. You can get a nice photo, at least, of the actual front of house, even if you can't be in it alongside them. I think it looks great. I think it does look really great. I like the architecture of the building. I think it looks nice. It's not the strongest, but I think it does look nice. I like the Lyric on the outside. I don't really love it on the inside, sadly. Like, if we're speaking like seating wise and like views, there are some odd views at the Lyric. But nonetheless, I think it does rank quite highly for me. I think right now, with the current tenant, it does go above Criterion. Does it go above Duchess? I would say so. I think it goes just below Gielgud. I think Gielgud is slightly but I think what Gielgud currently has, like, going for it with Marquee is a little bit weaker than what I would say for Lyric. Oh, actually, yeah. I'm gonna go. If it was a different show at the Lyric and a different show at the Gielgud right now, they could be swapped. But I would say Lyric is stronger right now with the current tenant. All right, I feel like we're about halfway. I don't know. This is a really long video. I'm going to have to cut so much of my discussion. Oh my God. Okay, no coward. It's fine. It's fine. I like the addition of the neon sign that they've had for previous shows. I don't know if there is currently one for Doctor Strangelove, but I'll you know, it doesn't really need it. I think it's nice. I think the architecture of the building is the biggest plus. I like the knoll coward going along the side. I think the windows above look gorgeous. I think there are decent spots to get photos with it, but it's not the easiest one, I would say. It does look very nice. Feel very similarly to it than I do about something like the Old Witch. I'm going to put it just below Duke of York. Yeah, it's fine. It looks good. Novello. Mamma mia, baby. Oh, this is a great marquee. Now, the thing about the Novello, first of all, when it's lit up with the blue lights, gorgeous, stunning, beautiful, everything. Give it all its flowers. Amazing. The Novello Theatre along the top when it's lit up in blue as well. Stunning. You've got the poster boards above to add extra posters for Mamma Mia. The architecture of the building is stunning. You have the big poster board that is used, which has the bride on it. I love the 25th anniversary logo as well. They had only for like a month on that theatre. I wish they had it for the full year because it looked great. The extra depth of blue on there. Oh, it's stunning, but we're just talking about this one for now. It's great production photos all along the edge of the theatre. There's so much going for this one. I like it. I like it a lot. I feel very similarly about it to Criterion. Do I think Criterion is better? I don't think Criterion is better with the current tenants. Do I think it's better than Duchess? Yes, I think it's just better than Duchess. I don't think it's stronger than Gielgud. I think I like the Gielgud a little bit more. So I'm going to place it there. Just under Gielgud, above Duchess. Happy with that. Let's move on. The Palace Theatre has sadly not had a show in it for 7 years. It's such a shame. I really think they should put a show on in there. Preferably a show, you know, not written by a children's author who has made it her life's mission to, you know, say very interesting things about the group of people that you're part of. But let's move on. So we're going to go to the previous tenant of the palace, which was the Commitment. The Palace Theatre, they know what's up. If you go back through the history of the Palace Theatre, every single marquee looks great. Oh my God. Now, if you go back for the history of the Palace Theatre, oh my God, this marquee always just looks so good. Oh my God, this marquee always looks so good. Every single time. Spamalot there. Fantastic. Singing in the Rain looked gorgeous. Priscilla had a heel. They were Devil Wears Prada before Devil Wears Prada came into the West End. Now, come on now. And it was speaking about the Commitments, the last show at the Palace. This was no exception. The giant drum set on top, the musical instruments, everything looked gorgeous. Oh my God. And the architecture of that building is stunning. The long wall with all of those windows, fantastic. The glowing logo at the front, the Commitments, loud and proud on there. It looked fantastic. It is one of the best, if not the best. Where would I rank it? The thing is, I have to question now. I definitely think it's like 2 or 3. It's definitely better than Benjamin Button. I think it's better than The Ambassadors, but is it better than Why Am I a Single? I think so. The big question now, is it better than Devil Wears Prada at the Dominion? Yes, I think so. Commitments and the Palace Theatre takes the top spot so far. Next up, just around the corner from the Palace Theatre, is the Phoenix Theatre, currently home to Stranger Things: The First Shadow. They take a lot of opportunities with their marquee to make it big and flashy, as you would expect from a big commercial show like Stranger Things. There's the neon sign up around the side. I would like to say, I think they could have done more. I would have loved to see some tendrils coming up, like make it a little bit reminiscent of the Upside Down in that way, where they have those like tendrils coming up and round. I would love to see them kind of wrap around, maybe like the Phoenix Theatre logo, which does look incredible in red. The thing about the Phoenix is that the marquee is kind of split up into 2, and while they've bought out a lot of the shops that used to be on that street, splitting up the 2, they only have like a thin poster board running along the top that connects them now, and I feel like that's a little bit of a shame. I would like to see a little bit more there. But when we get to the other side of the theatre, you have the actual entrance, the main entrance, with the Phoenix Theatre logo in red, and matching the Stranger Things logo, the neon sign on that side too. Love the architecture here of the windows and everything, and the paneling looks great. Love the side poster board as well. The logo where you see Vecna and Henry Creel in the shadow looks great. Really amazing when it's lit up in the red at night. I think it is great. There's a couple of like itty bitty nitpicky things that I would say like would make it a little bit stronger, but it's definitely in the top half. I would personally say that it goes above Lyric, above Cambridge, not above Apollo. I'd put it there. It's a strong 6th right now. Moulin Rouge. Is it controversial to say that right now the Piccadilly and Moulin Rouge is one of the strongest marquees in the West End? I don't think that it is, because I think it's just absolutely stunning. Oh my God, you have the main Moulin Rouge sign, the windmill on it. You could go and see if the windmill is spinning. That was in our last scavenger hunt that I did on Mickey Joe Theatre's channel. Oh my God, the long Moulin Rouge sign as well. You got double bang for your buck you're getting. Yeah, and like the long stretch of poster along the bottom as well. When this is lit up in the red, oh, it looks so good. And I like how this doesn't compromise a lot of the architecture underneath as well. You can still see a lot of the beautiful architecture of this theatre. Oh my God, it looks stunning. So good, so pretty. Great theatre to get photos with. There's space on the side of the road where you can stand to get a photo with the Moulin Rouge sign. I have done it before as well. One of the best, if not the best. Would I put it above Commitments? Yep. I think right now this is the strongest marquee in the West End. And also they make it gay during Pride Month, and that's always bonus points from me. Now, I don't know why the photo on this website is on its side. Sadly, the Playhouse has fallen over and it can't get up. But the Playhouse, currently known as the Kit Kat Club, or the Kit Kat Hub at the Playhouse, is the home to Cabaret. Now, this is a show that is a little bit more mysterious in its way, so we kind of have to appreciate it for that. There's no production photography outside. There's only a lot of black covered up windows and a huge neon logo sign. There's not even a sign on that theatre that really tells you are at Cabaret except for the neon light. I like how this leans into a lot of the style of Cabaret and a lot of style of this revival, making it feel a little bit more immersive and a little bit more like an experience to go through. And I think that neon looks great. The only thing about this theatre, and I don't know how much you can blame the theatre for it, is that sometimes the tree outside overgrows so much that it literally covers the entire marquee, so you can't see it or get photos very well. But saying that, there's a lot of space outside the front of the theatre to stand in front of to get a photo with that neon sign. It's very great, very good. I think it does look very nice, and I think it's the style of it that gets it bonus points. I don't think it's one of my favorites. I think the architecture is very nice, but I don't think it ranks within like the top 5. I know the section it goes into. It goes into the same section as Stranger Things, Matilda, Hadestown, and the Gielgud, but I don't know where within that to put it. I think Matilda is a little bit stronger. I think they're very on par with each other, Matilda and Cabaret, but Matilda's a little bit easier to get photos with and it's always guaranteed. Whereas if you're trying to get a photo with Cabaret, you gotta hope the tree is not overgrown. I like the style of it. I'm going to put it just below that. Prince Edward, currently home to MJ the Musical. Now, MJ used to have a giant neon sign that lit up the entire street in red, and I'm assuming they got a couple of people complaining about that, so no longer is it lighting up the entire street in red. But the other side still has its screen up there. The thing about Prince Edward, oh my God, the architecture. If you look at the day cows above each of the doors, it's so striking. The Prince Edward, if you want to know, is my favorite theatre visually. Like inside and out, visually, it's stunning. It's gorgeous. I love the balcony on there that you can get up to. I love the striking glowing sign up the top. I do quite like the other one as well. With the reds of MJ, it does look very, very strong. There's a lot to it going for it. I do think it is one of the strongest. I'm going to put the Prince Edward above Phoenix. Do I think it's stronger than Apollo Victoria? No, I don't think it's stronger than Apollo Victoria. I think it goes there. I'm happy that it goes there. Currently in 6th place, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th place. Next up, another Delphont Mackintosh Theatre. The Prince of Wales, currently home to Book of Mormon. I like this theatre a lot. Architecture, stunning. Now, they don't have a lot of space to play with when it comes to the actual marquee here. You have the big poster board, which looks great and is so high up that you can literally see it from like a mile away. I think there's nice places to get photos with it. I think it's okay in that respect. But yeah, they don't really have a lot of space to play with. I think they use what they can here. I think it does look very, very nice. I think it does look very nice. And the architecture does boost up quite a lot. I also just think the posters of Book of Mormon, like the white, don't allow it to pop out as much as some other shows being at this theatre. Like a little bit more of a colourful marquee or a show that has a more colourful background would probably have a little bit more oomph on that marquee than Mormon does. It's another one that goes around this area here. Like around Gielgud. I think Gielgud is stronger. I think it's better than Novello. This might be a little bit low, and I may change it later, but I'm going to put it underneath Gielgud for now. Okay, Savoy. Mean Girls. I think the Savoy is one of the most iconic theatres in the West End when it comes to its marquee. The Mean Girls logo on there right now looks absolutely gorgeous. Even if I'm not the biggest fan of Mean Girls, oh my god, that marquee makes me want to get a photo with it. And it's a great spot to do so as well. You can get photos with the marquee at Mean Girls. And even if we're taking that into account, that's not even the only marquee at Mean Girls, because they have the signs all along the side. Even though it's being renovated right now, we're going to ignore that because it does look a bit ugly right now, but it's growing into its face. It's growing into a better face for itself. Don't worry about it. Because we also have the section down a little bit further by the Savoy Hotel, the actual entrance to the theatre, which looks great lit up in pink, which looks really nice with the Mean Girls logos running alongside. You have the posters as well, and there's little photo ops on those poster balls as well outside. Additional places to get photos. We love to see it. I think this ranks very high. I think it is between, I think it's definitely better than Ambassadors. Garrick is its biggest challenger though, because I don't think it beats the Shoe. I don't think it beats the Shoe. The Shoe does beat it. I do think it's stronger than Why Am I Single. I'm going to put it there. It's currently 4th place, and I'm very happy with that, I think. Mrs. Doubtfire at the Shaftesbury. The Shaftesbury is a great theatre if you want a commercial show to show off itself, because you have the giant poster board running alongside. You got the 2 poster balls next to it, and especially in the current like light blue of Doubtfire, it does look very pretty. I would say the thing about the Doubtfire marquee, I like the bit where like the logo pops out. I don't love what they've done with like the glitter spotlight. I don't think it translates as amazingly well as I would hope it to. I think Anne Juliet looked a little bit nicer in that marquee, but I would say it still looks very nice and ranks fairly highly. I'm going to put it there for now, just under Lyric, but I feel like those two could swap round, if I'm being completely and utterly honest. Next up, the latest theatre at the West End, Soho Place, or at Soho Place. So you can say that you've seen a show at Soho Place. This is a theatre where the marquee is entirely made up of screens. This is one of the only theatres with like a full like glass exterior, and it looks so slick and modern and unique, especially in the landscape of theatre. You can see straight into that building and oh my god, it does look gorgeous. I like the touches of the 2 screens and the posters all along the side. I think it does look very nice. I think there's good places to get photos with it, but again, it's a screen, so sometimes those photos aren't amazingly perfect. I think it looks very nice, especially with White Rabbit, Red Rabbit. I think it does look quite good. I think it's better than Criterion. I think it's better than Duchess. I don't think it's stronger than Novello, though, so I'm going to place it there. I think I'm comfortable putting it underneath Novello. I think Novello has a couple little touches I appreciate a little bit more, especially when it comes to like the marketing of the show. I would put it there, yes. The Sondheim Theatre, previously known as the Queen's and home to Les Mis. Now, another thing that Les Mis has going for it is the actual mural on the side of the theatre. I think last time I checked, this is currently covered up by a big sheet. I think they're repainting it. So we can't really count it right now, but you know what? I will because it's normally there, and that's a great photo opportunity, especially on a theatre where it's not the easiest to get a photo with. You can go across the street to get a decent photo. You can go like kind of next to it to get a photo, and it does kind of curve around the building in a nice way that you can be a little bit more to the side and get a good photo with it. I think the Les Mis logo looks stunning across this theatre. The reds and the blues and the whites really popping straight out. I love the actual like flag along the front. I think it looks a lot nicer now, post renovation as well. They used to have this weird like running along, like it almost looked like a screen you would have at a train station, which ran along the side with like a bit of text that said like the longest running musical in the West End and like all of that. And I was like, it looked a little bit tacky, I would say. It looked a little bit tacky. It looks a lot nicer and a lot more striking now, especially with like the glass panels showing you the foyer. Really striking. I think the sign near the mural that says Les Mis instead of the Sondheim is a little bit of a weird choice. I would say that. Just below Phoenix, just above Cambridge is where I'm going to put Les Mis and the Sondheim Theatre. Next up, Mousetrap. Now, Mousetrap has played in the West End for 72 years. It hasn't played all those 72 years at the St. Martin's, but it has been its home for a very, very long time. And at this theatre, the marquee is this giant neon sign. Every year, they switch out the number underneath to keep in touch what year Mousetrap was in when you saw it. A very smart way to put that piece of marketing straight onto that theatre and straight onto every photo you will take of that theatre. I think it does look very nice. The lighting along it looks great. The actual architecture looks stunning. The neon sign is so striking and iconic. You have to give it credit for that. I think being right next to the ambassadors, it's in a very similar position of having a great spot to get a photo with it, if you so wish. I wouldn't say it's got things to it like Les Mis or like Stranger Things or even Matilda, where like I think there's like that pop. I think the neon sign looks great, but I would like to see a little bit more. I don't know. I feel like it's missing a little something that the more commercial shows have. I think I'm very comfortable putting it above Mormon. I think just for the iconography of that sign, I would put it there. Yes. Okay, next up, Theatre Royal Drury Lane. Currently preparing itself to become the home for The Tempest and the Shakespeare season going along with that. The building of the Theatre Royal Drury Lane, stunning. This is one of the oldest theatres in the West End, and oh my god, it feels like it carries that grandiose nature with it. You go round the side, you have the pillars so striking, you have the screens on the side there, which are able to reflect different shows going in, because this theatre does have a lot of concerts going in as well. You have the actual poster board towards the side of the theatre as well, which I'm showing you on screen right now. Visually gorgeous, but it falls for the similar traps I feel like the Palladium falls for as well, where it does look amazing. It's one of the best theatres in terms of architecture, but when we're talking about like actually promoting the show, it's actually a lot better inside. I think it's stunning and needs to be appreciated for that. But if we're speaking more about the actual like decals and marquees, I would put it just below Lyceum. Yeah, it's tough because I think the architecture of the building is one of the best, but it's held back. I think it is held back by a couple of things. Okay, we're on our final 5. The Haymarket, you haven't really got much to speak about with the Theatre Royal Haymarket. Like, the thing is, they're another theatre similar to the Lyceum where it's pillars and they can't really play with the space. So the only thing that they really have is the banners, which I think for the most part is fine because the Haymarket typically takes in plays. So you don't really need a lot of that space, but it was really felt with a show like Heathers, the lack of like big flashy marquee. The banners do look quite nice. When we're talking about the current show, which is Waiting for Godot, I think it needs a little bit more pop of color. The actual banner is very plain, and I would like to see a little bit more of the orange incorporated into that. Even though you do get it on like the panel above, I feel like the actual banner is leaving a little bit to be desired in a way. There's a couple of posters along the front, and when we're talking architecture, it is stunningly beautiful. Stunningly beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous in every single way. But again, similar to how I felt about some of these others, I feel very similar to this than I do about the Adelphi. The Adelphi is a little bit stronger when it comes to like the decal and like the marquee, but the architecture is worse. I'm going to put it below. It's just above the arts, just below Adelphi. Next up, another theatre that's randomly on its side. Why is it on its side? It won't be on its side when I put the photos of it up properly, but the Trafalgar Theatre, newly renovated, used to be Trafalgar Studios, 2 different spaces, now is one big theatre. Currently home to the Duchess, and yeah, it's good. It's fine. It's serviceable. I like the outside. The architecture looks nice. It's cool. I like the Trafalgar Theatre logo, and it's in like a striking white. It's nice. You have the poster boards, which are quite big, so you get nice photos. You can get a big photo with good old Jodie Whittaker if you want to. That's the 13th Doctor, and I love Doctor Who, so I love her too. It's a theatre the outside of it doesn't really enthrall me. I feel like I'm in a chorus line. Nothing. I'm feeling nothing. I don't know. I feel very little about it. I feel like it is lower towards the list. I think it's better than Haymarket. I'd say I've got more of a soft spot for Adelphi though. And I think the Adelphi does a little bit more. So I'm going to put it there. I don't know. I just don't really feel much about it. I don't know. Everything else I can be like, that's stunning. That's beautiful. Trafalgar, I'm like, it's cool. Maybe there was a more commercial show in there, I guess. 6 at the Vaudeville. Vaudeville, again, another theatre that doesn't really have a lot of space to play with, but oh my god, the glitterboard does look very, very good. Oh my god, it does look very, very good. The sparkle of it, and when it glows and lights up, beautiful. I think there's nice photos and production photography along the side. It's a theatre, along with like Mamma Mia, that has alternates on the outside, which is massively, massively appreciated. We love to see it. I think the architecture is nice. It's kind of squashed and it doesn't have a lot of space to play with. And I think, you know, if they had more space, it could be a little bit stronger. Could it have more? Maybe, but I like it a lot. I would put it similar place to Tina. Similar place to Tina. Is it stronger than Tina? I think Tina's got a little bit more, honestly. I put it just below Tina. Victoria Palace. A theatre where I think the marquee is lacking, the architecture is architecturing. I'm going to compare this to a show that was in the theatre previously, Billy Elliot. I'm going to put Billy Elliot on screen right now, and I'm going to compare it to what Hamilton has. Can you see why I want a little bit more out of Hamilton? Because there is things that they could do here. I really wish that they had the same like logo, but just had the star as well. If they had like a decal of the outline of the Hamilton star with the fist in the air, I think Hamilton can rank really highly. I think the architecture of this building is stunning. It's gorgeous. The pillars, the statue at the top of the building. One of the most beautiful theatres in the West End, and a theatre that's actually really easy to take a photo with because you have the island in front of it across the street, and it's fairly close to it that you can actually get really close to get good photos. But yeah, I mean, they do have the panels all along the side with the silhouettes that add an extra photo opportunity along the side, but a lot of that is queued up against when you're trying to get into the theatre. I feel like it leaves a little bit to be desired, especially with a show like Hamilton. And I mean, there's not really any like production photography outside. There's not really anything like that. There's not a space for it. So I feel like it does lack a lot of that. I would put it just below 6 at the Vaudeville, but just above His Majesty's and Phantom. Yeah, we'll go with that. And finally, we've done it. We've made it to the end. We have the Wyndham's Theatre. Trust the Delphort Mackintosh Theatre to look beautiful. All of the Delphort Mackintosh theatres look so good when it comes to architecture. He knows how to pick a good theatre that has a stunning outside. Mr. Mackintosh has taste, if we're going to give him anything for that. And right now, Oedipus is playing at the Wyndham's Theatre, and I think it looks nice. Again, the Wyndham's is a theatre that, I mean, it has been doing a few more musicals, and musicals that suit that space quite well, like Oklahoma and Next to Normal, but it is first and foremost a playhouse. But for a playhouse, I think it does actually have a lot going for it with the marquee. They have transferred to having screens. There's a long screen that runs across the front. There's the entrance bit with an Oedipus sign. It looks quite nice with the white and the blue. There's the actual sign on the side of the street, which you can get a nice photo with. You can get photos across the street as well. It's quite a busy place though, so it is very hard, even like not during a show time, because you've got Leicester Square right next to it and Leicester Square Station. It is quite hard to get good photos with it, but there are still places you can go. I think it's nice. I think it's okay. I don't think it's one of the strongest for me, but I feel like I think it's just a little bit stronger than Noel Coward, just below Duke of York. And there we go. Here is my ranking. So you've seen the photos. What do you think? What is your ranking of the West End marquees? The great thing about all of these videos is that all of these opinions are so subjective. You may rate the actual poster a little bit stronger. You may rank the architecture a little bit stronger. You may pull things up and down. And honestly, on any other day, I may pull things up and down as well. I think a lot of these are very on par with each other. And even the one at the bottom, even the Arts, is still a theatre that I have a lot of love for and a lot of love for the marquee for. Honestly, if I was giving these like a number grade, I don't think a single one of these theatres ranks below a 6 out of 10. But when we're ranking so many beautiful theatres, this is just how the cookie crumbles. So, share your opinion. I'd love to hear it. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. If you did enjoy this video, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It really helps me. It helps out the channel. Here's some links to some other videos on screen right now and a link to my Instagram if you would like to drop me a follow over there. I also have other socials and a merch store in the description down below. But that's it for me today, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!